Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go with a video format again for this discussion. I've been thinking a lot about using stories to teach. I was reading in Teaching the Savior's Way, and it talks about how the Savior used examples and stories, parables, as we call them, to teach us different things. So he talked about things that applied to the people that he taught. He used says here his teachings are rich with references to fish, seeds, keys, cups, and many other everyday objects. And so it just gives the advice to, in your teaching, to be able to use examples from your own life. And the great thing about teaching in this family discipline is that there's a lot of things that we can draw from our own families and our own lives to be able to help teach concepts even in our courses. Which I think is helpful. When I think back on my experience as a student, many of the things that I still remember from what professors taught me were their own personal stories and examples as it applied to the content of the course and also just life in general. And then, of course, here at BYUI, we have a special opportunity as we want to share our testimonies and engage with our students as we try to help them to become disciples of Jesus Christ and disciple leaders of Jesus Christ, to be able to pull in our own experience and stories from our lives. So the thing that I would love to discuss below is just how are you able to use stories in your own course? How do you collect those stories? How do you share those stories? And if you have a story, I would love to hear it. I learned that way by, whenever I really resonate with a conference talk, it's usually because there's a story that has touched me or relates to me. So with that, I wanted to share a story, a recent event that happened in my life. I'm going to show you some pictures here. Let's see. Okay, so we have in our yard, we built our house about almost 10 years ago. And when we were doing our landscaping in the beginning, we planted this tree. This tree was special because it came from a little shoot that was growing at my grandma and grandpa's house. And so we planted it. This is my now 10-year-old Ezra standing next to this little twig. We had neighbors tease us when we first planted this tree that why were we even planting it because it was so small. This is Ian that first year. So then what I started doing each year is I started taking pictures of the kids by the tree each year as it grew. So this is my daughter Haven. This is, well, I guess 2 years or so after that other picture. And then this is Dexter, my youngest, as a baby, the next year. So you can see the tree has grown, and it's fun to see the kids grow too alongside the tree. So we had a big storm this last week where it was really cold and it got really snowy. And my husband came out, he goes to work pretty early, and so he went outside to go to work, and he came in, he said, you're not going to be happy. The snow weighed down the tree and broke it. And so this is a picture of that morning. So this is the tree now, and this is the giant branch that broke off. This is another tree of ours that broke off too. But you can see it peeled back this huge amount of this tree, and I was heartbroken. Like, I cried. Not only is this tree kind of like a symbol of everything that has grown and changed and happened since we've lived in this house, but it also reminds me of my grandparents and their home where I loved to spend time as a kid. And so it was really, really, really sad for me to not know if the tree was going to survive based on this huge break. So we called a professional tree guy, and of course, where we live, because there was so much damage everywhere, it took a couple of days for him to come. But he was able to come and kind of explain what had happened with this tree. So you can see right here where this is brown. this is called an inclusion, and what it is where the trunk meets the tree, it starts to like grow in, kind of like curl in. So this is like bark, um, but it's not fused together, the tree right there. And so what happens is if when you get pressure on it, then the pressure's enough at the top that it just breaks off. So the tree guy was explaining, if you prune your trees from the beginning when they're small, like in the picture with Ezra and Ian, then you can see these inclusions even when the branches are tiny, and then you can just prune off the ones that have those inclusions so that you don't end up having stuff like this happen. And the guy was saying, if we had come out to prune your tree, 2 weeks earlier, we could have done some things to reinforce this branch so that even though it's gotten big, they could reinforce right here so that it wouldn't have that breakage. So of course I'm beating myself up for not, paying sooner to have somebody come out and look at our trees so that it didn't have this problem. This is a picture of him cutting away the branch. They weren't able to do anything for the branch, so he had to just cut the branch off and then try to, the bark will kind of heal itself over that spot. But he said it'll take a few years for us to like balance back out the tree, and then hopefully the wound in the tree won't be prone to disease and stuff like that. So then it had a little Band-Aid on it. He kind of wrapped this stuff around it to try to help that bark to reattach. So that's the tree now in its current state. So, as this has happened, I've been thinking a lot about my grandparents. My grandpa, 2 days before the tree broke, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. I mean, his body's full of cancer, and they've given him 3 months to live. And so it was especially tender for me as I thought about, things in this life aren't permanent, and the gospel is what makes, a continuation in a better world possible. So there was that parallel that I've been thinking about a lot. But I've also thought about just the care that it takes when something's important to you. It's kind of like the story in a conference talk many years ago about the spoons. If something's important to you, you treat it differently. You take good care of it. And this has been a good reminder to me that it's worth it to take care of things that are important to you. It's important to pay special attention to things that are important to you because it makes all the difference. And so that's my story for today. Draw from it what you may in your own life. I look forward to seeing what kind of stories you're sharing in your courses and how you collect those stories and share those stories, or perhaps stories that have touched you as an instructor from your students, or however you use stories in your teaching. So thanks, guys. Have a good day.